The story starts with a sage fighting a dragon, and he defeats it. He then thinks that his crest has no room left for growth, and he mentions that his crest, called the first crest, specializes in creation. The second specializes in power, the third specializes in rapid firing, and he mentions that the fourth specializes in combat, and this is the crest he needs if he wants to grow stronger. He states that one's crest can't be changed after birth, and he reincarnates himself into the future. The scene then changes to a boy named Matthias Hildesheimer heading to the capital to take the Magic Academy's entrance exam. On the way he tells his carriage driver that there is a calamity-grade monster nearby, and the monster then shows up, and Matthias defeats him easily, and the driver is surprised to see this. Matthias then arrives at the capital, and he enters a weapon shop after hearing a girl's voice. He notices that the girl wants the weaponsmith to remake her friend's magic sword, and the swordsmith states that he can't remake a magic sword. Matthias then notices that all the weapons in this store are well made, but the enchantments are poorly applied. The girl then states that she needs the sword by tomorrow as her friend has to take the academy entrance exam, and the weaponsmith mentions that no one can make it that fast. He then states that she can buy one of the ready-made swords, and the girl states that the sword should be light enough for a girl to swing it with one hand. The weaponsmith then mentions that only an enchanted weapon can do that, and Matthias states that he will do the enchantment. The weaponsmith states that Matthias shouldn't try to show off, and Matthias mentions that he can easily handle an enchantment of this level. The weaponsmith then calls Matthias's crest the crest of failure, and he states that he is even more convinced that Matthias will fail. The girl then asks the weaponsmith to make a sword with a magic stone, and she mentions that she is going to put her faith in Matthias. The weaponsmith then makes the sword, and the girl introduces herself as Alma Lapucius, and Matthias also introduces himself. Alma then mentions that this sword is for a friend of hers, and her friend then shows up in the shop. Matthias thinks that she is beautiful, and the girl mentions that she couldn't find any shop that would be able to make her a magic sword by tomorrow. Alma then introduces Matthias to her friend, and the girl introduces herself as Luri Abendroth. The swordsmith then states that he is done with the sword, and Matthias enchants the sword with Enhanced Fortitude and Sunder Steel, and he states that he is done. The others can't believe that Matthias enchanted the sword this fast, and Luri then tries the sword and she notices that it has indeed been enchanted. The others are surprised to see Matthias's skill, and the weaponsmith wonders if Matthias wants to work for him, but Matthias refuses. The scene then cuts to Academy practical exams, and Matthias meets Luri and Alma there. Luri states that they should work hard to clear this exam, and she then manages to pass her swordsmanship test. It's Matthias's turn next, and the captain of the Night Order, Guile, comes to take his test personally. He mentions that he has heard that Matthias is the one who enchanted Luri's sword, and he states that Matthias will be needing someone more skilled than a normal examiner, so he will be the one to fight him. Matthias then fights Guile, and he manages to defeat him easily. The instructors then state that they will conduct the casting exam next, and they mention that the students have to attack all 5 targets with the Fire Arrow spell. It's Luri's turn first, and she uses incantations to cast spells and hit the targets. Seeing this, Matthias thinks that incanted casting has a poor magic conversion rate, and he wonders why people are using it in this day and age. Luri then hits all of her targets, and the other students wish that they had also been born with a crest of glory like her. Matthias then mentions that in this world the first crest, which is highly compatible with incanted casting, is labeled as the crest of glory, and meanwhile his fourth crest is called the crest of failure as it's not compatible with incanted casting. It's then Matthias's turn to take the test, and Matthias invokes a spell without using incantations, and the others wonder how Matthias is doing this. Matthias then uses his spell and he destroys the testing grounds along with the targets. The scene then cuts to the school's entrance ceremony, and we see that Matthias and the girls have cleared their exams and entered the academy. The headmaster then introduces himself to the students as Edward, and after giving a speech he tells Matthias to visit him in his office after this is over. The scene then cuts to Matthias at the headmaster's office, and the headmaster mentions that Matthias defeated the captain of the Knight's Order in the swordsmanship exam, and he destroyed the testing grounds using wordless spell casting in the magic exam. He mentions that there must be some deep reason as to why Matthias is this strong, but he won't pry into it, and he states that he wants Matthias's aid. He mentions that Matthias must have seen the other students use incantations to invoke their spells, and he explains that this is because wordless spell casting is a lost style. He mentions that he wants to revive wordless spell casting with the help of Matthias, but there is one thing stopping him. He explains that it's their sister academy called the First Royal Academy, and they have to follow the curriculum of the First Academy as it's backed by the nobility. He mentions that because of them incanted spells are the only form of casting accepted in academia, and they will have to prove the power of wordless spell casting to prove them wrong. They can do this at the next inter-school competition, and this is why he wants Matthias to instruct all of them in wordless spell casting until the tournament. Matthias agrees, and the scene then cuts to him teaching wordless spell casting to the students. First, he demonstrates how wordless spell casting works, and the other instructors show them that they can also do it now. Matthias then teaches everyone about wordless spell casting, and Luri wonders why wordless spell casting has gone into decline if it's this impressive. Matthias also wonders why this has happened, and a month then passes by and now it's time for the inter-school competition. Matthias is at the venue of the inter-school competition, and Luri hopes that there are no magical chosen ones this year. Matthias wonders what they are, and Luri states that this is what they call leaders with strong casting ability in First Academy. Alma states that the captain of the Mages Order is also one of these chosen ones, and Matthias thinks that one of them is here, and his magic power is roughly 10 times his own. Alma thinks that this is demon-level magic power, and Matthias can't believe that demons are still alive in this era, and he then enters the arena to face off against 3 students from the First Academy. The students from First Academy make fun of Matthias for having a crest of failure, and they wonder if he is going to fight them alone. Matthias then notices that one of the First Academy students is actually a demon, and he is using a fake crest to pretend to be human. The match then begins, and Matthias easily deals with 2 of the First Academy students, but the demon is still standing. The demon then accidentally uses a spell without incantations, and everyone is surprised to see this. Matthias then crosses swords with the demon, and he thinks that it must be the demons who caused the decline of wordless spell casting to make them weak. He thinks that they must have infiltrated First Academy long ago, and they must have declared the 4th crest as the crest of failure. Matthias then injures the demon, and he uses a spell called Spell Shatter to reveal the demon's true form. Everyone is then surprised to find out that the student was actually a demon, and Matthias then kills the demon before it can escape. Matthias can't believe that the demons have infiltrated the academy, and he thinks that he drove them to extinction in his previous life as Gaius the Sage. The scene then cuts to Luri hugging Matthias, and she states that she is glad that he is alright. Luri then gets embarrassed by her actions, and the scene then cuts to Matthias meeting the king. The king states that he is impressed that Matthias managed to defeat the demons single-handedly, and he mentions that no one has accomplished a feat like this before. The king then asks Matthias what he wants as a reward, and Matthias thinks that he should go for broke, and he asks the king to give him the rights to all the resources found in the kingdom's dungeons. Matthias then thinks that dungeons are a kingdom's greatest asset, and in his past life kingdoms would even go to war over them, but magical knowledge has waned since then, and it's possible that in the current era people don't know their value. The king then grants Matthias free reign over the dungeons, and he tells Matthias that the 4 magical chosen ones that were in his kingdom have all disappeared. He states that the first chosen one appeared several hundred years ago, and this suggests that the demons have been infiltrating their kingdom for centuries. Matthias then thinks that after he drove the demons to the brink of extinction, a few of them must have infiltrated human society and spread erroneous magical knowledge, and caused a decline in the power of humans. The king then mentions that Matthias has driven away the demons from their kingdom, and he wonders if this means that the threat has passed. Matthias then states that the situation now is more dire than ever, and he mentions that the demons' next move must be to gather their forces and lay waste to this kingdom, and he predicts that it will take them 3 months to prepare for all this. The king thinks that they don't have enough time, and Matthias mentions that it's more than enough. He states that they first need to cover the whole kingdom with a barrier, and he mentions that they will need a divine class artifact to project a permanent barrier. He mentions that they can make the preparations in a month if all the students of the Second Academy work together, and the king states that he will place his trust in Matthias as they have no way of defeating the demons themselves. The scene then cuts to a soldier taking Matthias to the treasure room, and he states that the king has given him permission to take anything he needs from this room. Matthias then notices a sword, and he thinks that this is something he made in his past life. He then thinks that this will be perfect for the core of the barrier as it's made of something even tougher than orichalcum. He then also takes a pendant which he made in his past life, and he thinks that this can increase the experience gained by a person. The scene then cuts to Matthias teaching the students wordless spell casting, and he states that he entreated the king about re-evaluation of casting theory and Crest rankings, but it takes time for things to change. Alma and Luri then come to Matthias and they state that they have heard that Matthias is going to make a barrier. Matthias states that he is, and he mentions that he is going to enter a dungeon to gather materials for it. Matthias then thinks that it's always better to have a party while exploring dungeons, and he wonders if the girls would like to be in his party. The girls state that they are thrilled by his invitation, but they are only going to hold him back. Alma mentions that she would love to get stronger, but she is not good with the sword, and Luri states that Alma has always been better with the bow. Alma mentions that she was told that bows are bad for combat, and Matthias states that it's not true, and he then shows them that they can infuse the arrows with magic while using bows. Alma thinks that this is great, and she then agrees to join Matthias's party. Luri then wonders if Matthias just used an enchantment, and Matthias states that he did, and Luri wonders if Matthias can teach how to do enchantments to her. Matthias states that Luri's crest is more suited for enchantments than for combat, and Luri thinks that this is wonderful, and she agrees to join Matthias's party. The scene then cuts to Matthias's party in a dungeon beneath their academy, and Matthias explains to them that the environment and monsters in a dungeon differ floor by floor. He states that the monsters on this floor shouldn't be too tough, and he then goes to fetch one of them. Matthias then returns with a monster, and he asks Alma to try to hit it with her arrows. He tells Alma to channel her magic into the arrow while firing, and Alma then manages to take out the monster. Matthias then teaches Alma how to control the direction of an arrow after it's been fired, and he tells her to practice this until she can hit 2 monsters with a single arrow. Alma then goes to search for more monsters, and Matthias tells her to be sure to collect the Magi stones that the monsters drop, as they will need those for the barrier. Matthias then tells Luri that to learn how to cast enchantments she will have to learn how to make her own weapons, so she can have something to practice on. Matthias then breaks the wall of the dungeon, and he teaches Luri how to refine the rocks. Elsewhere we see that Alma can now take out 3 monsters with a single arrow, and she then returns to the others, and she notices that Luri has learned how to refine weapons. The scene then changes to Alma and Luri wearing some equipment made by Luri, and Alma can't believe that Luri can already make equipments. Matthias then states that they will be heading to the 10th floor today, and the group then continues to venture deeper into the dungeon, and they manage to easily take out all the monsters that show up in front of them. Matthias then thinks that his pendant can consolidate the magic power of the defeated monsters to increase the experience of his party, and he thinks that it's playing a big role in their improvements. A killer dog then appears in front of the group, and Matthias tells them to be careful, as these guys are extremely dangerous. Luri and Alma then work together to fight the monster, and they manage to defeat it. Matthias then states that they should set up a camp as it will be a while before more monsters come here, and he then uses a Magi stone to create a barrier. Matthias then heads to the lower floors to get the adamantite that he needs for the barrier, and Alma wonders how far Matthias is going to go. Matthias states that he will be heading to the 25th floor, and Alma states no one has gone deeper than the 23rd floor, and the party which managed that was the legendary 30-man party under the protection of the god of magic Gaius. Matthias wonders why the god of magic is named Gaius, which was his name in his previous life, and he then ventures deeper into the dungeon, and he manages to find adamantite. Matthias then feels the presence of a powerful monster which could be a floor boss, and he decides to fight it. Matthias then notices that the floor boss is an arc serpent, and he thinks that he will have to finish this fight quickly as the fumes from the serpent's venom will soon toxify the air around him. The serpent then attacks Matthias, and it swallows him, and Matthias then blasts the serpent from inside, and he then breaks a Magi stone to produce a thick veil of magic particles, and he gathers them all on his sword, and he takes out the serpent. Matthias then returns to the girls, and he shows them the monster that he defeated, and this surprises the girls. The story continues and Matthias goes to the Adventurers Guild to sell the monster he hunted just now, and the receptionist is surprised to see the large monster. The receptionist then wonders if this is all they want to sell, and Matthias states that they also have a Magi stone. The receptionist thinks that a Magi stone this big is a national treasure, and Matthias thinks that this is not big enough to use in the barrier. The receptionist then states that she is not sure if the guild can afford all this, and the guild then gives them 750 gold for all that. Later, while returning to the academy, Matthias senses two demons heading for Second Academy. We then see that the demons are flying above the kingdom, and they discuss that it was the students of the Second Academy that managed to defeat their demon friend. Matthias then states that one of the demons is weak, but the other is stronger than the one he faced before. He mentions that he is going to deal with the stronger one, and he asks the girls to fight the weaker one. The girls doubt that they are capable of fighting a demon, and Matthias mentions that they don't need to doubt themselves with their current capability. He asks them to buy time until he defeats the stronger one, and the girls agree to this. Matthias then gets to the demons, and he attacks them. The demons then wonder if he is the one who defeated their friend, and a demon then attacks Matthias with a spell, but Matthias takes control of the spell to attack the demon. Matthias states that these control spheres stick around for a while, once he summons them, and Alma then attacks the demon named Deshril with her bow. Deshril then goes after Alma, and the other demon tries to attack Matthias, but Matthias shatters his spell, and he attacks him. The demon Ashril and Matthias then cross swords, and Matthias manages to injure the demon using the sword skills from his past life. Ashril then tries to get away, but Matthias stops him, and Ashril catches Matthias by surprise with one of his spells, but Matthias dodges this as well. Ashril tries to use his flight magic to run away, but Matthias disrupts the spell, and he hits him with a lightning spell, and this takes Ashril out. Ashril then tries to sacrifice his life to summon a horde of monsters, but Matthias defeats Ashril. We then see Alma and Luri fighting Deshril, and they hit him, and withdraw, and they keep using this tactic to buy time. Matthias thinks that they are doing really well, and he thinks that he should finish things off. Matthias then comes there, and Deshril can't believe that he managed to beat Ashril. Matthias then pretends to use a spell which can take a demon out in a single strike, and he thinks that he is just faking it, as he can't use that spell with his current magic power. The demon gets scared seeing this, and he tries to run away, and Matthias then tells Alma to shoot him. Alma shoots his wing, and Matthias takes out the demon. The people in town can't believe that an academy student managed to defeat two demons, and Matthias thinks that this can get complicated, and he runs away with the girls. The scene then cuts to Matthias, the girls, and Edward meeting the king, and the king congratulates them on their victory. The king then wonders what they want as a reward, and Matthias asks the king to give him as many dungeons as he can. The king agrees, and Luri and Alma then state that they want money. Matthias then senses the presence of a demon in the room, and he tells him to come out. He tells the king that a demon is watching them, and he forces the demon to talk, and he cuts his connection to this place. The king then states that this voice belonged to the captain of the mage's order, and he wonders if he managed to find a way to listen in on them. Matthias mentions that he did, and he asks the king if there is anything special 348 kilometers west, and 4,425 kilometers east of here. He mentions that he felt a reaction from that region when he destroyed the magical interface, and the king mentions that there is a village destroyed by the demons in that place. Matthias thinks that the demons must be hiding in the ruins, and the king can't believe that he managed to figure out their location. Matthias then states that they should pay the demons a visit, and Alma mentions that it will take them half a year to travel that far. Matthias states that even his teleportation spell can't take them that far, and the others can't believe that Matthias can use teleportation magic. The scene then cuts to Matthias in the mountains with the girls, and the girls wonder how they are going to get to the demons. Matthias states that they will find out when they get there, and he then goes to a dragon. The girls think that this is a darkness dragon, and it's a legendary kingdom destroyer. Matthias states that he will negotiate with the dragon, and he asks the girls to wait here. Matthias then thinks that this darkness dragon picked a fight with him in his previous life, but she surrendered, so he let her go. He thinks the dragon named Iris would be happy to see him as they go way back, and Iris then states that she didn't give Matthias permission to enter her domain, and she asks him to leave. Matthias then thinks that she must not remember him, and Iris then tries to use her breath attack on Matthias. Matthias stops the attack, and Iris asks Matthias if he knows a person named Gaius, and Matthias states that he is the reincarnation of Gaius. Iris then apologizes to Matthias, and she states that she didn't know that he was Gaius. Matthias then tells the dragon that he needs to slay some demons, but they are far from here, so he needs a ride. Iris states that she can't take Matthias there, as her wings are damaged, and she mentions that she got this injury when a magic reactor exploded in a human kingdom. She states that this incited explosions in other reactors as well, and this sent humanity back to the Stone Age. Iris then asks Matthias if he can heal her wings, and Matthias states that he can't fix them perfectly, but this should be enough for her to be able to fly. Matthias then tells Iris his current name, and he states that she should start talking in human language now. Matthias then tells the girls to come here, and he introduces them to each other. The scene then cuts to the group flying on the dragon's back, and the girls can't believe that they are riding a dragon. Matthias then tells Iris where she needs to go, and Iris flies towards their destination. The scene then cuts to Matthias slaying a demon lookout at the base of the demons, and he notices that there are two demons here. One of them is Erhart, and he shouldn't be a problem, but the other one is even more powerful than Ashril. Matthias then infiltrates their base with the girls, and uses telepathy to communicate with them. Matthias states that the girls are going to handle the attack this time, and he gives them a magic circle saying that this will help them out. They then go in, and Matthias notices that the demon is hiding using a concealment spell. He states that this spell also masks the emissions of magic power, and he tells the girls to find a place which is devoid of magic power. The girls then find one of the demons, and they state that they can't find the other one. Matthias tells them to not worry about the other one, and he tells them to get ready to fight, and he disrupts the demon's concealment spell. Alma then shoots the demon with an arrow, and the demon wonders why Matthias is not attacking him, and he doubts that this boy is the real Matthias. He thinks that the real Matthias couldn't have gotten here this fast, and he then tries to kill Matthias. Matthias then tells the girls to keep firing the arrows while he is keeping the demon busy, and the demon thinks that these tiny arrows are not going to do anything to him. The demon then notices that his movements are becoming sluggish, and Matthias explains that his team members are using a magi toxin which makes a demon's internal magic power to agglutinate. The demon can't accept that he is going to lose to an imposter, and he then uses the Disfortune spell, and Matthias states this spell can increase the caster's strength at the cost of their lives. The demon then tries to attack the girls, but he finds out that he only attacked their illusions, and Matthias states that this illusion also had magi toxins mixed in it, and Alma then shoots the demon and she defeats him. Matthias then tells the girls to leave the rest to him, and wait for him in the sky with Iris. Matthias then breaks 3 magi stones, and this causes the mist demon there to materialize. The mist demon states that he hopes that Matthias is prepared to die since he summoned him here, and he mentions that he is on a different level from Erhart. Matthias states that he knows this, and he then uses a spell on himself. The two of them then fight each other, and the demon manages to cut Matthias's right hand. The demon then states that it's time for Matthias to die now, but Matthias uses magic to heal his arm, and he thinks that he imbued his arm with a recovery spell in advance. He states that he also imbued it with an analysis spell, and thanks to that he now knows the magical nature of this demon. The demon can no longer land his attacks, and Matthias states that he let the demon cut his arm. Matthias then attacks the demon, and the demon uses the spell called Magic Circuit Overclock, and Matthias states that this spell is similar to the one that Erhart used, but the chances of dying is lower in this one. Matthias stops the demon from using this spell, and the demon wonders how Matthias did this. The demon then turns into mist again, and he states that this spell of his can turn anything it touches into mist. Matthias cancels this spell as well, and the demon wonders what's going on here. He states that he is the only one who uses this spell, so there is no way that Matthias has a countermeasure for it. Matthias then states that he has analyzed the demon's magical nature, and he knows what the demon is going to throw at him, so he can work out all the countermeasures he needs. The demon then starts to draw in magic from the surroundings, and Matthias explains that earlier he hit the demon with a spell which can force him to draw excess magic from the surroundings, and the demon wonders if Matthias is trying to make him explode. Matthias states that he is, and he then breaks another magi stone to increase the concentration of magic in the area, and the demon explodes. The explosion reveals a crystal, and Luri is happy to see that Matthias is unharmed. Alma then asks Matthias what this crystal is, and Matthias states that it's a dragon vein pillar. He mentions that dragon veins are conduits of magic power that run through the earth, and they can stick a dragon vein pillar into the ground to tap into that flow. He thinks that going by the spell carved into it, the demons were probably trying to summon a large horde of monsters which could be 5,000 strong. He thinks that this must be why the demons were here, and he states that their target is the capital. Lurie mentions that they need to evacuate the citizens of the capital right away, and Matthias mentions that there is no need to rush as the explosion just now must have disrupted the spell, and shifted the spawn points about 10 kilometers from the city. Matthias states that they should be able to deal with this with the help of the academy, and they then head back to the capital. Iris then wonders what she should do after she drops Matthias off, and Matthias tells Iris to join them at the academy by transforming into a human. He mentions that they can stick together if Iris joins the academy, and this might make it easier for her to get healed. Iris states that she doesn't know much about human schools, and the girls state that this won't be a problem. Iris then transforms into a girl, and the scene cuts to Matthias showing Edward proof that he defeated her heart. Edward mentions that at this rate Matthias is going to empty the treasury, and Matthias mentions that he wants Edward to accept this girl as a transfer student. Edward states that she will have to take the transfer exam, and he mentions that she will need to score 47 out of 50 marks to pass. Matthias states that this won't be a problem, and he thinks that he doubts that Iris can fully control her casting as she just took her human form. If things get out of hand, she might end up destroying the entire academy, so he will have to keep an eye on her during the exam. Afterwards the girls ask Matthias when he is going to tell Edward about the horde of monsters, and Matthias mentions that he will wait until Iris's exam as he doesn't want to create panic. Matthias then gives Iris a fake crest, and the girls tell Iris to do her best in the exams tomorrow. The scene then cuts to Iris's exam, and she fights the Knight's Captain Guile. She accidentally lets go of her sword, and she catches Guile's attack with her bare hands, and she sends him flying. The next is the casting exam, and Iris destroys the training grounds along with the targets. Edward then thinks that she is bizarre, but he can't fail her, and he passes Iris in her exams. The story continues, and Matthias asks Edward how is gathering the materials for the barrier coming along, and Edward mentions that they don't have enough crests of glory, as most of them are enrolled at the First Academy. Matthias states that they should ask the First Academy for help, and Edward mentions that the two academies have never been on good terms, so he will have to ask for the king to intervene in this. The scene then cuts to the First Academy headmaster in the Second Academy, and the headmaster is angry at being summoned by Edward. Edward then states that they should get to the matter at hand, and he mentions that he summoned him here because he wants the help of the First Academy students in forming the barrier over the kingdom. The headmaster refuses, and both the headmasters then argue for a while, and in the end they agree to hold another competition, and this time the loser has to do whatever the winner asks. The headmaster of the First Academy mentions that he has a condition, and he states that Matthias and his party members are forbidden from participating in this competition. Matthias agrees, and the scene then cuts to the competition. The First Academy has sent out their entire class of students, and in turn Second Academy has only sent 5 students to fight against them. The competition then starts, and Second Academy manages to win before the First Academy students can finish their incantations. The First Academy headmaster then mentions that he can't accept this result, and he states that these 5 students are beasts, and he then asks Edward to let his students fight Iris instead. The headmaster then notices that Iris is also a beast, and Edward wonders why the First Academy students are using incanted spells when the king has ordered them to shift to wordless casting. The headmaster states that he has to protect the kingdom's educational principles even if he has to go against the order of the king. The king then comes there, and he asks the royal guards to seize the headmaster for speaking like this, and the guards take the headmaster away. The king then orders the students of the First Academy to work with the Second Academy, and assist them with the plan in progress, and the students understand. The scene then cuts to Matthias and his party in the dungeon, and he thinks that now they can make the barrier in time, and wordless casting should gain more traction with this. Lurie then asks Matthias where they are going, and Matthias states that they are going to get the 60 cm Magi stone that they need for the core of the barrier. The girls wonder how Matthias is going to get a Magi stone that large, and Matthias states that they are going to summon a monster. The girls then fight some monsters in the dungeon, and Matthias thinks that Alma and Lurie are coming along nicely, but Iris still can't control her powers. Lurie then states that this is her first time on the 17th level, and Iris mentions that someone she knew made it all the way to the 645th level. Matthias thinks that Iris is talking about him in his past life, and the scene then cuts to Lurie making a magic circle to summon a monster. Matthias then tells Iris to infuse the Magi stone in the circle with magic, and he tells her to do it slowly, as too much can lead to a disaster. Iris accidentally puts in too much magic, and they end up summoning a monster which this floor can't handle, and the floor starts to crumble, and Matthew's party runs away. The group then notices that they have summoned a dragon, and Iris tries to attack it, but the dragon sends her flying. Matthews then tells Iris to provoke the dragon, and Iris does so. While Iris keeps the dragon busy, Alma shoots it with some arrows, and Matthews sets up some magic circles. Iris and the dragon then have a slugfest, and Iris thinks that it's weird that the dragon hasn't used its dragon's breath yet. Matthews mentions that it's because he is blocking it, and he then thinks that dragon bodies are tough, and they can't be penetrated by arrows, nor can they be affected by poisons, so there is only one reliable way to defeat a dragon. Matthews then tells Iris to get away, and he tells her to provoke the dragon into using its dragon's breath. Iris does so, and Matthews then activates his magic circle, and his spell changes the direction of the dragon's breath, and he takes the dragon out with its own spell. The dragon is then defeated, and Iris takes its Magi stone. Matthews then wonders if Iris would like to join his party officially, and Iris wonders if he is sure. The others also agree with Matthews, and Iris decides to join his party. The scene then cuts to Matthews telling everyone that they need training to improve their party's teamwork, and we see that Matthews has destroyed the school ground to create uneven terrain for their training. Matthews explains that the uneven terrain will help Iris get used to her human body, and Iris thinks that this is a great idea. Iris then trains with a shell on her head, and she has to protect the shell from getting hit by Alma's arrows, and for this she has to move with the least movement possible. This proves to be difficult for Iris, but she doesn't give up, and meanwhile Matthews tells Lurie to make some equipments to practice her enchantments, and he states that he wants her to make his weapon this time. Lurie gets excited hearing this, and she mentions that she will make a great equipment for Matthews. Matthews then states that they procured a lot of other ingredients from the dungeon aside from the Magi stone, and he tells Lurie to use them to make him a weapon. He states that he wants her to enchant 8 spells on his sword, and Lurie mentions that she can't add 8 spells in a single weapon, and Matthews mentions that it's impossible to put all 8 of them on a single blade, so they are going to layer the blade into different parts, and enchant the parts separately, and then they are going to assemble all the parts together. Lurie thinks that this is an amazing idea, and she then follows this idea to make a blade for Matthews. Meanwhile we see Iris is also getting used to moving around in a human body. Matthews then tells Alma and Iris to come to him, and he states that Lurie has made weapons for all of them. All of them then test out their weapons, and they think that these are great. Matthews then thinks that now he has a new party member, and the popularity of wordless casting is also spreading. He thinks that he will no longer need to stay here once he puts up the barrier, and drives away those demons. The scene then changes to Edward telling the students that they will cover the kingdom with a barrier, and he mentions that Matthews will be too busy creating the barrier, so the rest of the students will have to protect the city in the meantime. Afterwards Matthews finds out that their magic detectors have detected some demon signatures, and the girls think that this is too fast. Matthews mentions that they are probably picking up the signature of a demonic transportation spell called Magi Road, and he asks Alma and Lurie to take care of them. The scene then cuts to Alma and Lurie heading to the location where the Magi Road is, and they notice that there is still some time until the demons show up, so they make their preparations. Lurie makes some arrows for Alma, and she imbues them with spells. The demons then show up, and Alma and Lurie work together to take them out, and we see that they are not having much trouble dealing with them. The Magi Road then closes, and the girls are happy to have dispatched the demons themselves. The girls then feel a surge of magic energy in the capital, and they head back. Matthews congratulates the girls on defeating the demons, and he explains that the surge of magical energy in the capital is due to a more advanced version of Magi Road, and this spell sacrifices a demon to achieve long-distance travel. Lurie wonders what they should do, and Matthews mentions that the demons will likely appear above the second academy. He states that he will need some time to get the barrier ready, and he asks the girls to buy some time for him. Lurie mentions that they will do their best, and they then go to the academy training grounds. A demon then shows up above the academy, and it tries to attack the students in the academy, but the attack doesn't land, as Matthews has already cast a defensive spell there. The students now start to attack the demon, but their attack doesn't reach it, and Alma then manages to fire an arrow which reaches it. Meanwhile Lurie is having some problems enchanting arrows for Alma, and she asks Alma to buy her some time. The other students attack the demon to buy some time for Luri, and Luri notices that this is her last piece of Magi stone, and it will all be over if she fails this time. She tries hard to enchant the arrows, but the magic circle is really complex, and this takes everything she has to offer. Alma then tells Luri to keep going, and she states that she trusts her, and Luri gives it her all, and she manages to enchant the arrow. Alma then shoots the demons with this arrow, and she takes control of it to hit the demon, and the other students attack the demon to take it down. Some more demons then show up above the academy, and they attack the students, but Matthias's defensive spell still stands. Luri gets discouraged to see so many demons, and Alma tells her to get up as they still have to buy Matthias some time. Luri understands, and they then try to attack the demons, but Matthias shows up, and he starts taking out the demons one by one. Matthias asks the demons how they would like to die, and the demons state that Matthias shouldn't underestimate them, and they start to attack him. Matthias takes them all out, and he thinks that his body has now reached a level where it can fight decently. Everyone is happy to see how easily Matthias got rid of the demons, and Matthias mentions that this is all thanks to the sword that Luri made for him. Alma then asks him if he finished up the barrier, and Matthias mentions that he finished digging the hole for it, and Iris and the others are taking care of the rest. We then see that the others have finished all the preparations for the barrier, and Matthias adds a Magi stone in it to activate it. The entire capital gets surrounded by a barrier with this, and the girls think that it all went perfectly. Matthias mentions that they are still not finished, and Iris tells them that a ton of monsters are heading their way. Alma wonders if it's because of the spell on the dragon crystal, and Matthias states that it is, and due to the magic power emanated from their fight with the demons, the horde of monsters is larger than they expected. The scene then changes to the students outside the capital to engage the monsters, and Edward tells them to fight with all their heart. The fight between the students and the monster then start, and we see that students are winning, and Matthias thinks that the traps they set up earlier are really coming in handy. He mentions that the students have improved over the last few months, and they won't lose to monsters of such low level. Some stronger monsters then show up, and Matthias mentions that his party is going to take things from here. Matthias and his party takes care of the stronger monsters, and they then encounter a monster named the Void Eater, which devours the monsters around it to grow stronger. The girls state that they should kill it before it gets any stronger, and Matthias mentions that they should let it devour all the monsters in the area, as they will be able to take them all out at once this way. Matthias then gives Luri a casting circle, and he tells her to carve this into a Magi stone, and he explains that absorption-type monsters don't provide good materials as they evolve in a distorted way, so they are going to make it evolve in a particular direction. Luri then throws the Magi stone at the monster, and Matthias throws some more Magi stones at it. This makes the Void Eater evolve into a really large monster, and the girls wonder if Matthias is sure that he can beat it. Matthias states that he can, and he asks Alma and Luri to attack it with arrows, and Iris to aim at its feet. The team then follows Matthias's plan, and Matthias thinks that the best way to beat a large beast like this is to tick it off. Matthias then takes out one of the monster's eyes, and he takes out its legs as well, but the monster heals itself. Matthias keeps on dealing damage to the monster, but the monster keeps regenerating. Matthias then uses a powerful attack to decapitate the monster, and he states that it shouldn't be able to regenerate now. Matthias mentions that even he is tired after all he has done today, and the townspeople and the students are happy that the threat has passed. The sun then rises up, and Matthias states that this monster's presence suggests a truly dangerous dragon vein, and he mentions that he will have to look at some dungeons outside of the capital. The scene then cuts to Matthias informing Edward that he will be leaving, and he states that he would like to do a survey of the dragon veins. Edward mentions that he knew that this day would come eventually, and he mentions that there is nothing left for Matthias to learn here, but his name will still be on the school register under a special scholarship program. He mentions that this school will have greater freedom for effective growth with his achievements under its belt, and it will also make it easier for him to help Matthias under the guise that he is a student here. Matthias states that it's not a bad offer, and he takes it. Luri, Alma, and Iris then mention that they would like to go with Matthias as well, and Edward gives them the same scholarship as Matthias. The scene then cuts to Matthias and his party leaving the capital, and they bid farewell to everyone from the Second Academy. The story continues, and Luri thinks that leaving the capital on a journey is exciting. Matthias tells her to not forget that they are not on a journey, they are on a mission to investigate the dragon veins, and their current destination is the Melkia dungeons. Lurie states that there is no need to worry as the dungeon city of Melkia is pretty safe, and Matthias can't believe humans have created a city over dangerous dungeons. Alma states that it will take them several days to reach the city, so they should take their time, and Matthias mentions that it should only take them a day, as it's not far. Lurie wonders if Matthias wants to pass through the forest of Chikirasubia, and she mentions that they can't pass through there as it's a monster den. Alma mentions that according to rumors there is a really smart monster showing up lately. This gets Matthias curious, and the scene then cuts to everyone in the forest. Matthias thinks that it's really unsettling in here, and he thinks that it's strange that they aren't seeing any monsters. Iris then mentions that she is hungry, and Alma states that they should pull out something from their rations in the storage space. Matthias mentions that they should find their food in the forest instead, and he then goes to hunt something, and he notices many monsters in the forest, and he notices that they are moving conspicuously. He thinks that someone is commanding them, and he thinks that this must be the smart monster. The scene then cuts to Matthias returning with the smart monster, and he states that he is disappointed that it was just a wisdom monkey. Matthias then brings out a boar from his storage space, and he thinks that they should eat this. Alma and Lurie wonder if they can really eat monsters, and Matthias states that they can't eat every monster but this one is a delicacy. They then cook up the monster, and after eating it Alma and Lurie think that it's really good. Matthias then mentions that they should get going, and he states that the forest monsters are too afraid to attack them because they can sense Iris's magic power. The group then ventures into the forest, and they reach Melkia by sundown. They notice that the city is looking lifeless, and Lurie mentions that she expected a dungeon city to be full of life. Matthias then notices that the lamps look strange, and he thinks that magic lamps are supposed to be powered by magi stones, but this one seems to be tapped directly into the dragon vein. He thinks that this thing can explode, and the lamp then really explodes. Lurie then asks a nearby vendor why they made something so dangerous, and the vendor states that it was the Lord's idea. He mentions that they used to power them with magi stones, but the new Lord told them that magi stones are their most valuable export, and they were forbidden from using them. Matthias then wonders if the town is also unpopulated because of the Lord, and the vendor states that apparently a powerful monster has appeared at the 10th floor of the dungeon. Most adventurers were sent in because of the Lord's orders, and no one has returned yet. Afterwards Matthias thinks that the local lord seems incompetent, and he thinks if they send a lot of unexperienced people on a monster hunt, they will just trip each other. He notices that the weapons in this area are also of poor quality, and Lurie wonders what they are going to do next. Matthias thinks that they should head to the guild first, and he mentions that they will need guild-issued permits to enter the dungeon. The scene then cuts to Matthias and his party at the guild, and he asks the receptionist for a permit. The receptionist mentions that the permits are issued by the Lord, and to get it they have to participate in any special request that the Lord asks of them until they are in Melkia. Matthias wonders if the requests are dangerous, and the receptionist states that they are absurd. She mentions that children like them won't be able to handle it, and Matthias then asks the receptionist for 4 permits anyways. A girl then comes to the guild, and she mentions that they have a huge number of injuries from a monster attack, and they can't handle them all, and she wonders if anyone here knows any healing spells. Matthias states that he does, and the girl takes him to where the injured are. He notices that there are too many injured people, and Matthias wonders why there are so few healers here. The girl states that they had a lot of them, but the local lord drove them out saying that they were a waste of money. Matthias then states that he can't let them die because of that foolish lord, and he mentions that he will save everyone. He first detects what injuries everyone is suffering from, and he assigns them all a number according to the severity of their wound, and he asks his party and the other healers to cast healing spells according to the numbers. Everyone listens to Matthias after witnessing his skill, and soon they manage to save every injured person. Matthias then asks the healer in charge why the previous lord was replaced, and he wonders if he passed away. He thinks that from what he has heard the previous lord knew what he was doing, and the healer then mentions that the previous lord passed away in his sleep without any warning. Matthias can't find out any more than this, and he thinks that the demons must have killed the previous lord, and there is a chance that the current lord is also a demon. He thinks that he will have to find this out himself, and the scene then cuts to Matthias and his party members staying at an inn. Luri states that the current lord is really cruel, and Alma mentions that they need to do something. Matthias states that he agrees, and this is why he is writing a letter to the headmaster. Alma wonders if he wants him to forward this to the king, and Matthias states that he does, and he shows them that he will be sending this letter beneath a false bottom in the letterbox. He states that he has worked out this method of communication with the headmaster in advance, and Luri thinks that it's a great idea, as the mails must have been getting inspected, and this is why the king hasn't heard about this. Matthias then mentions that they should also check out the dungeon tomorrow, and the scene cuts to them all sleeping. Matthias and Luri can't fall asleep, as they are embarrassed to spend the night in the same building, and the next morning the others notice that the two of them didn't get any sleep last night. Afterwards Matthias and his party head into the dungeon, and the scene cuts to them selling the parts of the strong monster that caused trouble the other day to the guild. The receptionist wonders how they managed to defeat this, and Matthias states that they did it normally, but he didn't do anything, it was the 3 girls with him. The receptionist mentions that she can buy it, but Matthias won't get paid until the Lord confirms it, and Matthias understands. The receptionist then writes a letter, and Matthias notices that she is telling the Lord about their party, and she writes that the 3 girls are beasts but the boy didn't participate in the battle, so he must be a healer. Iris then mentions that she is hungry, and later the Lord can't believe that they managed to defeat that monster. The scene then cuts to Matthias's party having some food, and Matthias notices that some people are keeping a watch on them. They then head out of the restaurant, and the people watching them follow behind. Matthias then uses telepathy to tell his friends that they are being followed by the Lord's underlings, and he uses a concealment spell to see what they do. The followers then notice that they disappeared, and they wonder where they went. Matthias and his friends then show up behind them, and they wonder if they can show him the way to the inn. The followers mention that their inn is that way, and Matthias can't believe that they know where they are staying. The Lord's underlings then take Matthias hostage, and they ask the others to do as they say. They mention that they know that Matthias is the weakest of them all, as he is the party healer, and Matthias thinks that the Lord must have gotten that letter. Iris then beats all of them, and Matthias checks if any of them is a demon, and he casts a tracking spell on them. The scene cuts to him receiving a letter from the king the next morning, and they then go to meet an emissary sent by the king. The emissary introduces himself as Eek, and Matthias wonders if he chose this place as their meeting spot so that the Lord couldn't catch on. Eek states that he did, and he mentions that the king has commanded them to take the Lord into custody. Matthias states that he knows that the Lord is at an estate at the edge of town, as he cast a tracking spell on his underlings. Eek mentions that the estate would be closely guarded, and Matthias states that it won't be a problem for them. Matthias and his party members then storm the estate, and they notice that the Lord's underlings are waiting to ambush them, but their ambush doesn't work, and Matthias manages to defeat them all in one fell swoop. Matthias then mentions that the Lord should be in the basement, and he finds a secret entrance leading to there. At the basement Matthias confronts the Lord, and the Lord sends his underlings to attack him. Matthias defeats them all easily, and the Lord states that Matthias was supposed to be the party healer. Eek then tells the Lord that he will be arresting him now under the authority of the king, and the Lord mentions that he will make Matthias pay for this. He states that terrible things will befall this city if anything happens to him, and Matthias then knocks out the Lord. He tells Eek to take him in for interrogation, and he mentions that he wants to investigate how they found out about their raid, and he then finds a letter which tells of the decision to have the Lord arrested. Eek wonders where this came from, and Matthias mentions that there are faint traces of magic on the letter, so clearly there is a demon involved. Matthias thinks that the demons were most probably trying to do something involving the city dungeon, and he thinks that they might be after the dragon vein in the dungeon. He mentions that the dragon vein here is bigger than the one in the capital, and if it's infused with a spell, it can cause worldwide calamity. Eek states that he must report this to the capital, and Matthias and the others then feel an earthquake, and Matthias thinks that the demons have already started tampering with the dragon vein. Matthias notices that they have spawned a monster horde, and it's heading their way. He thinks that this must be what the Lord was talking about, and he mentions that they have to get the demons away from the dragon vein. Luri wonders what they are going to do about the monsters, and Matthias states that it will be 2 hours before the monsters arrive at the city, and they hurry to the dungeon. The scene then cuts to Matthias and his friends in the dungeon, but they don't see any demons there, and Matthias thinks that they might have set up a trap. Matthias then locates the dragon vein, and he notices that there is something demonic about it. He mentions that it's probably something that the demons rigged up a long time ago, and they are trying to put the finishing touches now. Alma wonders if they can stop this, and Matthias mentions that they should split up into 2 teams. He states that he is going to confront the demons, and he wants Luri and the others to restore the dragon vein back to normal. Luri understands, and Matthias then casts a communication circle in the dragon vein, and he mentions that now they will be able to communicate from anywhere in the dungeon. They then begin, and Matthias confronts the demon behind this, and he notices that the demon is using a communication spell, and he taps into it. The demon giving orders tells the other demon that Matthias's friends are the one interfering with the dragon vein, and he asks the demon to finish him and stop his friends. Matthias thinks that the demon giving orders seems to be knowledgeable about casting and dragon veins. He thinks that he might get a decent fight, and he tries to attack the demon, but the demon has a barrier surrounding him. The demon giving the orders then tells the demon to finish Matthias before he breaches the barrier, and Matthias thinks that these are tactics devised to fight a crest of failure. He thinks that this demon is more powerful than any he has faced before, and Matthias then asks Luri to prepare casting Circle 14 and 17. The demon then tells Matthias that they should have some fun, and he tries to attack Matthias with ranged spells, as the crest of failure is good at close-range combat, but the demon can't land any hits. Matthias then thinks that the demon giving orders seems to be a force to be reckoned with, and he thinks that he would like to get a clue about his identity. The demon then attacks Matthias with another volley of ranged attacks, and Matthias defends with a barrier. The demon giving the orders then mentions that this is not working, and he mentions that they are going to lure Matthias into a trap, and Matthias then asks Luri to activate circle number 14. Luri does so, and Matthias thinks that this spell will nullify the trap in the dragon vein, and the demon's trap then fails to activate. The demon wonders what he should do now, and Matthias uses Magic Circle 17 to disrupt communication in the area. This surprises the demon, and he mentions that Matthias still can't harm him, as he still has his barrier. Matthias then attacks the barrier with a volley of attacks, and he manages to penetrate it with his sword. He tells the demon that the barrier was the right idea, but he didn't choose the right one, as this barrier needs half a second to reactivate after it deflects an attack. The other demon is able to establish contact again, and the demon mentions that his barrier has been destroyed. The demon thinks that maybe Matthias really is the reincarnation of Gaius, and the demon giving the orders state that he would already be dead if Matthias was Gaius. Matthias can't believe that the demon giving the orders knows about his past life, and the demon giving orders tells the demon to unleash misfortune. The demon does so, but he still can't land any attacks, and Matthias explains that he is simultaneously casting spells to deal with every move that the demon can come up with, and he is scraping the ones that he doesn't need. He states that this is possible due to the casting potential offered by the 4th crest, and he then defeats the demon using his sword. Matthias then tells Luri that he defeated the demon, and we see that Luri has also restored the dragon vein back to normal, and this makes the monsters outside the city to disappear. Matthias then tries to track the demon who was giving orders, and the demon mentions that Matthias won't be able to track him. Matthias then finds out that the demon was tapping into his communication with Luri, and the demon asks Matthias if he knows where he is. Matthias states that the signal is coming from a town called Alenia, but that's just a decoy. Matthias tells the demon that they will be fighting soon, and he mentions that the demon should better start coming up with some countermeasures. The demon mentions that Matthias will have to find him first, and the communication cuts off. Matthias thinks that this demon is on a whole other level than the others, and he thinks that this is going to be fun. The story continues, and Luri wonders if they are going to search for the leader of the demons now, and Alma wonders how they are going to find him. Matthias states that the transmission spell carried a trace of the caster's magic signature, and he has recorded the signature in this Magi stone. He mentions that there is a device which can help him trace this signature, and they can pinpoint the demon's location if they use that. Luri states that she has never heard of such a device, and Matthias mentions that it's from thousands of years ago, and he just stumbled upon it. Alma wonders where this device is, and Matthias states that it's in the Rodinia Alliance. He mentions that getting the king's help will make crossing the border smoother, and the group then goes back to the capital. They head to Second Academy, and they notice that the entire school is under construction. They then meet the headmaster, and Matthias wonder what's going on here. The headmaster states that they are rebuilding the academy from the ground up, and they are making the walls thicker, and erecting a barrier to withstand demon attacks. He mentions that meanwhile they are holding classes in the first academy, and their students are also helping with the construction. Matthias then informs the headmaster of the demon who is pulling the strings in Melkia, and he mentions that in order to find him they need to cross the border of Rodinia Alliance. The headmaster states that he will ask for the king's help, and he mentions that he will also make a recommendation for them to seek their guild's cooperation. Matthias thanks the headmaster, and he mentions that he will help with the construction while he waits. Matthias and his party then helps out with the construction, and Iris does more destruction than construction. The scene then cuts to Matthias and his party leaving, and the headmaster gives them the permit for crossing the border, and the recommendation. They then arrive at the Rodinia Alliance, and Matthias mentions that they have a problem as entry to the area containing the device is highly restricted. He mentions that the magical signature there is strong, so they are afraid that a calamity will occur. Matthias mentions that there is only one way to get entry, and it's to increase their adventurer rank to A. He states that they can rank up by completing the local guild's ranking test, and they then head to the guild. They meet the guild master there, and the guild master mentions that they must be the Matthias party that he has heard so much about, and they wonder how he knows about them. The guild master states that the King of Ace has asked for international cooperation now that the demons are more active, and Matthias mentions that he would like to reach rank A as soon as he can. The guild master states that he will arrange for them to have their rank A ascension test, and Matthias wonders what the test consists of. The guild master mentions that they will have to fight a mock battle against an arranged proctor, and the proctor then arrives there, and we find out that he is an S-rank adventurer named Guy Lewis. The guild master states that he is not the proctor he summoned, and Guy Lewis mentions that the proctor the guild master asked for ran away. He states that he is being generous by offering to stand in, and Matthias mentions that he doesn't mind fighting him. The guild master states that Matthias should reconsider as no one has ever passed a test run by Guy Lewis, and Matthias thinks that this is intriguing. The scene then cuts to the venue of the test, and Guy Lewis passes everyone except Matthias without even testing them, and he mentions that Matthias will be fighting him. He states that he has heard about Matthias and his heroic deeds, and Matthias thinks that this must have been his plan from the very beginning. The exam then begins, and Guy Lewis mentions that he doesn't use magic but Matthias can use it if he wants. Matthias thinks that considering Guy Lewis's magical signature this seems like a waste, and he notices that Guy Lewis just used a physical enhancement spell. They then start fighting, and Matthias thinks that Guy Lewis is definitely using a physical enhancement spell, but he doesn't even seem to realize that he is casting it. Matthias and Guy Lewis then clash swords, and Matthias notices that Guy Lewis is also casting a bunch of other spells. He thinks that it's incredible how Guy Lewis can cast spells subconsciously, and the others are surprised to see that Guy Lewis is matching Matthias blow for blow. Guy Lewis then mentions that Matthias seems to be holding back, and he tells Matthias to stop holding back. Matthias then uses some mid-air maneuvers to attack Guy Lewis, and Guy Lewis parries the attack. Guy Lewis then copies Matthias's movements to attack Matthias, and Matthias can't believe that Guy Lewis can adapt this fast. Matthias then overpowers Guy Lewis, and he sends him flying, and he corners him into giving up. Guy Lewis mentions that this is the first time he has lost, and he wonders how he can get as strong as Matthias. Matthias gives Guy Lewis a book he wrote on spellcasting, and he mentions that Guy Lewis lacks knowledge of spellcasting, and he might even surpass him one day if he works hard. Guy Lewis wonders how spellcasting is going to help him, as it can leave someone open to attacks, and he mentions that Matthias also didn't cast any spells. Matthias states that he did, and he mentions that they don't need incantations to cast spells. He states that Guy Lewis has also been casting spells subconsciously, and if he can start doing it consciously then he can get even stronger. Guy Lewis then mentions that he will work hard to read this book, and the scene then cuts to Matthias leaving the city. Guy Lewis wonders where Matthias will be heading to now, and Matthias states that he will be going to the restricted region of Itelis Plains in the Phocia region. Guy Lewis states that he has heard that the atmosphere in Phocia has changed recently, and the checkpoints along the nearby roads have gotten stricter. He mentions that Matthias can let him know if he needs his help, and the scene cuts to Matthias noticing that the checkpoints seem normal. The soldiers at the checkpoint then give Matthias's party some passes, and they tell them to be careful. Afterwards, Alma and Lurie think that this was easier than they expected, and Matthias mentions that there is still trouble ahead. He states that there is a magical code inscribed in these passes, and he mentions that the coding technology used here is similar to the ones that the demons use. Alma wonders if those guards were demons, and Matthias states that they were humans. Lurie then mentions that if the checkpoints are using demon coding technology, then all of Fokia might be under the control of demons, and Matthias states that they already have some visitors. Iris wonders if Matthias wants her to deal with this, and Matthias states that they will be putting them to sleep, because if they fight here then it will make entering the city harder. Matthias then gives Lurie and Alma an artifact, and they use this to put their visitors to sleep, but they also get caught up in it, and they fall asleep as well. Matthias then wakes them up, and he tells them to make sure to check the effective range before using an item the next time. The scene then cuts to Matthias and his party arriving at Fokia, and Matthias states that he can feel demonic signatures in the city. Lurie states that she can sense around 30 demonic signatures, and she wonders how there can be so many, as Matthias told them that demons don't like to work in groups. Matthias states that is true for typical demons, but demi-demons are different. He explains that demi-demons are a rare offshoot of the demon race, and they don't have any special spells, but they work in groups. Lurie wonders how they are going to get into the city, as the security is really high, and Matthias states that he just found a hidden passage, and it should lead them straight into the city. They then enter the passage, and they notice that it's a sewer system. They keep going, and Matthias then senses a demon guard ahead. The girls wonder what they should do, and Matthias mentions that they are going to pass right by it, and he then secretly casts a stupefaction spell on the demon, which dulls its senses, and they head into the city. They then think that this city looks creepy, and Matthias notices that the townspeople are in some kind of trance. He then finds out they are under a spell called thought paralysis, and it's a type of stupefaction spell. Lurie thinks that this must be the work of the demons, and they then arrive at some kind of factory after following the townspeople, and they notice that a demon is casting thought paralysis on everyone there. Matthias states that they will have to investigate this factory, and he casts a defense spell on his party members to prevent thought paralysis from affecting them. They then act spaced out to seem under thought paralysis, and they manage to enter the factory. They notice that people inside are refining some kind of ore, and Alma wonders what this stuff is. Matthias states that this is a Rankin magical ore, and the magi crystals they refine from it can be used in explosives. He states that with just a single ton of these crystals they can blow up an entire kingdom, but it would take decades to gather that much. Matthias thinks that at least now it's clear what they are aiming for, and he wonders if there is a powerful demon with extensive knowledge of magical technology behind this. Afterwards, Lurie wonders what they should do, and Matthias states that it's dangerous to leave things as they are. He mentions that they will have to wipe out the demons, and he states that he can detect a total of 32 demi-demons in the city. He shows on a map of how they are distributed, and Alma states that they have to separate the demi-demons before attacking. Matthias mentions that they are not going to separate, and they will remain within the range of their shared consciousness. He states that they are going to use their teamwork against them, and he explains the plan to the others. Afterwards, the demi-demons detect a large unknown magical signature in the city, and their leader asks them to get rid of it. The demons then head to the area, but they don't find anyone there. They encircle the area, and they close in, and a few of them manage to find Iris, but Matthias takes them out. The other demi-demons find out about this, and they then get taken out one by one. The demons wonder what's happening, and they think that their earlier patrol didn't detect anything out of the ordinary. The leader also wonders what's going on, and the story goes back to Matthias explaining his plan. He mentions that he masked Iris's magic power when they came into the city, and he is going to unmask it all at once. When the demi-demons pick up on this, they will gather around her. He mentions that he wants the others to stay on standby, but if the demons start forming groups, they should distract them. Matthias mentions that the rest of them will stay in hiding, and take out the demons one at a time, and the story then returns to the present, and Matthias and Iris keep taking out the demons. Matthias states that they have got 8 of them now, and the demons should think that Iris is the one picking them off. Lurie and Alma distract the demons by infusing some magi stones with an explosion spell and throwing it at them, and Matthias takes them out. The leader of the demi-demons still can't understand what's going on, and Matthias states that the demi-demons are always in contact with each other, but this also allows disinformation to spread quickly. Matthias thinks that right now they must think that the town has been rigged with traps, and the leader then tells the other demons to use magic to detect traps. The demons do so, and Matthias and his party members conceal their magic to avoid detection. The demons can't detect any traps, and Matthias thinks that they need to take out more of them before they complete the encirclement. Matthias and the others then take out a few more demons, and the leader wonders if the traps are set in a way that they can't detect it. The leader then realizes something, and Matthias has managed to take out 22 demi-demons so far. The leader then checks out the body of a dead demi-demon, and he senses 2 magical signatures on it. He tells the other demi-demons that there is someone hiding out there attacking them. Matthias notices that the demons' movements have changed, and he tells everyone to wait where they are. He notices that the demons are gathering in one spot and he thinks that they might be onto them. He mentions that they are going to take on the rest of them face to face, and the leader tells the other demons that first they should take care of the one broadcasting their magical signature. He states that this one will be dangerous to approach as it's a decoy, and he mentions that they will have to use the Magi crystals. He mentions that they must purge the enemy even if it means blowing up half of the city, and Guy Lewis then comes there, and he slays one of the demi-demons. Guy Lewis can't believe that the demi-demons are planning to blow up the city, and Matthias notices Guy Lewis's magical signature. Guy Lewis then fights the leader, and the other demons surround him. Matthias and his party takes out the surrounding demons, and Guy Lewis battles the leader one-on-one. The leader states that it's impressive that they managed to defeat the others, but he will murder them with his own hands. Guy Lewis then uses an enhanced physique spell to fight the demon, and Matthias notices that Guy Lewis's spells have gotten stronger. Alma and Lurie then come there, and Matthias mentions that Guy Lewis is barely avoiding fatal wounds. Guy Lewis then uses Recoil Sunder Steel to injure the demon, and Matthias explains that Recoil Sunder Steel is a spell that can give the user the cutting power to slice through iron, but it also takes a toll on the caster's body. The leader demon then heavily injures Guy Lewis, but Guy Lewis still asks Matthias to not interfere in this duel, and he uses a double strike of Recoil Sunder Steel to injure the demon more. Guy Lewis and the demon then face off with a deciding strike, and Guy Lewis manages to win the battle, but we see that the demon is still alive. The demon then tries to attack Matthias, but Matthias stops him, and he notices that the demon's magical signature is more powerful now. We then find out that the demon's body is being controlled by the leader of the demons, and he mentions that he will soon break his seal and revive. Matthias can't believe that the demon leader was using magic to animate this corpse, and he then heals Guy Lewis. Lurie and Alma notice that the townsfolk are out of the thought paralysis, and Guy Lewis then introduces himself as an S-rank adventurer to the townsfolk, and he mentions that under the Emergency Authorization Act he will be taking control of Fokia. Matthias wonders what the Emergency Authorization Act is, and Guy Lewis mentions that under this act a high-ranking adventurer can take control if the person in charge of a given region has gone missing. Guy Lewis then asks if there is anyone in a position of authority here, and a man comes forward, and Guy Lewis appoints him as the Provisional Lord of Fokia. Guy Lewis then gives Matthias and his party their guild-issued permits for entering the restricted area, and he states that he needs to get back to training as he can't go around almost dying whenever he defeats a demon. The scene then cuts to Matthias and his party going towards the restricted area, and after days of travel they finally arrive at the ruins of an ancient civilization. Matthias thinks that he created these ruins in his past life, and he mentions that the device they are after is inside here. Matthias then infuses his magic power at the gate to reveal an entrance, and he states that they should head in. Alma mentions that she can't see anything to walk on, and Matthias states that they will have to jump down, and he jumps. The others also follow after him, and they then come across the device. Matthias states that he will prepare the device for activation, and he tells the others to go look around for anything else that they can use. The girls wonder what he means, and Matthias states that this is an ancient ruin, so there might be old weapons or treasure scattered around. The girls get excited hearing this, and they then search the ruins. The girls then find some old weapons that Matthias made in his past life, but they are of no use to them. Matthias then analyzes the magical signature he recorded, and he notices that the seal is on the verge of being lifted. He tells the others that this opponent is significantly dangerous, and he mentions that this demon's name is Zardias, and they can't defeat him in their current state. Lurie thinks that there must be something they can do, and Matthias states that basic tricks don't work on Zardias, and he was sealed because even the ancient humans couldn't finish him off. Matthias mentions that they would be able to defeat him if they used immortality spells on themselves to train for hundreds of years, and after that they will have to get to work rebuilding society as Zardias would have destroyed it in the meantime. Lurie can't believe this, and Matthias thinks that he also doesn't want to resort to that, but he can't think of any other way to fight him. Iris thinks that they might be able to stand a chance if there were a powerful weapon in these ruins, and this gives Matthias an idea, and he uses one of his weapon's magical signature to track the other weapons that he made in his past life. He thinks that if he can find that magic sword with this, then they might stand a chance, and he notices that the magic sword he wants is in the palace's treasury in the Kingdom of Ace. The scene then cuts to Matthias returning to the capital of Ace, and he gives Alma and Lurie a Magi stone which can react to the sword in question. Matthias states that they will have to bust in the treasury and justify their actions later, and he then feels Zardias' magical signature, and he finds out that the seal is broken. He mentions that Zardias is coming for them, and he must think that they are the only line of defense that humanity has. Matthias then states that they are near the capital, and he mentions that he is going to hold off Zardias, and he wants Alma and Lurie to find the sword themselves. Lurie then tells Matthias that they are going to deliver the sword to him, and she asks him to make sure to slay that demon. Matthias states that he will, and Alma and Lurie then head to the castle. Up in the sky, Iris asks Matthias what he is doing, and Matthias mentions that he is preparing his first strike against Zardias. He states that Zardias is using a different space to travel to here, and he mentions that he is trying to seal that space to buy them some time. Matthias then uses his sword to try to seal the space that Zardias is using, but he fails, and Zardias shows up there, and he thinks that he will just have to fight him. Matthias then asks Iris to use a dragon's breath, and he tells her to pull back after that. He mentions that knowing that a dragon is close by should keep Zardias in check, and Iris then uses a dragon's breath, and she pulls back. The attack doesn't even faze Zardias, and Zardias mentions that he has been waiting to meet Matthias. Matthias states that he has also been searching for Zardias, and he thinks that he didn't expect the dragon's breath to have no effect at all. Zardias states that they should get on with their fight, and he then crosses swords with Matthias. Meanwhile, Lurie and Alma try to enter the treasury, but a guard stops them. Lurie tries to explain to the guard that they need a weapon from the treasury to deal with an emergency, and the guard mentions that he has not received any such orders. He states that he won't let them through without the king's orders, and the girls mention that they will get permission later. The guard still doesn't let them enter, and the girls think that they have no choice but to use force. The king then comes there, and he states that they seem to have an emergency. Lurie explains that Matthias is currently fighting a powerful demon above the capital and he needs a weapon from the treasury to defeat it. The king then tells the guard to open the doors, and we see that Matthias is still crossing swords with Zardias. Zardias manages to injure Matthias, and Matthias can't believe that he got this wound just from the pressure of his swings. He thinks that he will be done for if he fails to dodge even one of the attacks, and he wonders how long it will take for the girls to get the sword. Zardias then states that he is disappointed, and he mentions that he will be finishing things off now. Meanwhile, Lurie and Alma are still looking for the sword in the treasury, and they manage to find it. The battle in the sky is still raging on, and Zardias tries to attack the capital, but Matthias protects it with his defensive magic. Seeing this, Zardias realizes that Matthias must be making preparations in the capital to finish him off, and he mentions that as long as this barrier is in place his subordinates can't enter, but some of them are already inside. We then notice that the demons that Matthias killed in the capital have come back to life, and the demon Shrill faces off against Alma and Lurie, but they manage to defeat him easily. Another demon then comes across the girls, and he asks the girls to hand over the weapon to him. Alma and Lurie notice that the demon has their classmates as hostage, and Matthias can't believe that Zardias resurrected the bodies of the demons they had stored inside the capital. Zardias mentions that he has ordered the demons to slay Matthias's companions, and he then attacks both the barrier and Iris, but Matthias can't protect them both. Zardias then tells Matthias to stop covering for those weaklings, and he asks him to show what humanity's strongest has to offer. Meanwhile, the hostage students tell Alma and Lurie to not worry about them, and beat the demon, but Alma and Lurie can't do it, and they surrender the weapon. Matthias wonders how much longer it will take for the girls to get the weapon, and he thinks that he doesn't have much magic power left now. Zardias tells Matthias to surrender, and Matthias thinks that he can use the rest of his magic power to reincarnate himself in the future. He thinks that by then Zardias might get weaker, and he can train in magical combat and plot a comeback. He thinks that this would be the smartest option, but it would mean the end of the current civilization. Matthias then continues the fight, and at the same time the other students of Second Academy come to help Luri and Alma, and they manage to save the hostages. The girls then leave the fight to the other students, and in the air Matthias uses his life energy to make up for his lack of strength, but he still can't put up a fight against Zardias. Alma then throws the sword to Matthias, and Matthias catches it, but Zardias stabs him at the same time, and this kills Matthias. A light then shines from the sword, and Matthias comes back to life. Zardias wonders what's going on, and Matthias states that his death is what activated the sword. Zardias and Matthias then continue their battle, and Matthias can now keep up with Zardias. Matthias mentions that this sword represents the pinnacle of his craft from his last life, and the condition for its activation is the loss of the wielder's life. Its effects are the revival of the wielder, and a tremendous infusion of magic. Zardias mentions that Matthias may have increased his magic, but his battered body won't last for long, and Matthias states that with this much magic his physical body is irrelevant. Zardias can't believe this, and he wonders who Matthias actually is. Matthias states that he is the strongest sage with the weakest crest, and he then defeats Zardias. Zardias mentions that he may have lost, but he is not the only chaos demon in this world, and the next demon will surely defeat Matthias. Afterwards Luri is glad to see that Matthias is alright, and Headmaster thinks that it seems to be over. Matthias wonders if they are alright, and the Headmaster states that they are, and there were no casualties at all. Matthias then mentions that he has to expel the magic in this sword, as it's only made for a single use, and he destroys a mountain with the remaining magic of the sword. The scene then cuts to Matthias and his party meeting the king the next day, and Matthias thanks the king for letting them access the treasury the other day. The king states that there is no need for thanks, as Matthias did save the kingdom, and he wonders what he should give to him as a reward. He states that for starters Matthias can have the sword he took earlier, and Matthias is glad that the king didn't ask him to return it. The king mentions that the sword won't be enough of a reward, and he states that Matthias can take a look at the treasury and take anything that he wants. Matthias agrees, and him and his party then take a look at the treasury, and Matthias states that everything here is lousy. Matthias then notices an arrow made of adamantite, and he thinks that he also made a bow of the same material, and he thinks that it would make a great weapon for Alma. Matthias then asks the mage with them if there was a bow with this arrow, and the mage mentions that there was, but it was badly rusted, so they sold it to a company. Matthias and his party then heads to the company's shop, and they ask them about the bow. The shopkeeper then shows them that they have turned it into a block of metal, and he mentions that they couldn't identify the metal, so they melted it down. Matthias thinks that he expected something like this, and he then buys all of the unidentified metal blocks that the shop has, thinking that there might be some rare metals among them. Iris then notices a sparkly stone, and she mentions that this is really pretty. Matthias thinks that dragons do like collecting shiny stuff, and he states that he will buy this for Iris. Matthias then notices Luri looking at some jewelry, and he buys a jewel stone. Edward then comes there, and he mentions that they have an emergency. The scene cuts to Matthias and his party in a room, and in the room, Guile tells them that 2 days ago they received the news of an attack near the border with their neighbor the Sahil Empire, by 300 of these puppets. Matthias notices that the casting circle on the puppet is quite intricate, but the material is normal wood. He then finds out that the puppet is powered by human life energy, and he states that it works by gradually stealing small amounts of life energy from a bunch of humans. Luri states that only a demon could be capable of such a feat, and Edward wonders if demons are in control of Sahil Empire. Matthias states that this seems to be the case, and Guile then asks Matthias to lend them his aid once more. Matthias states that he will, and the scene then cuts to Matthias giving Luri a pendant at night. He mentions that he made this for Luri as she was looking at the jewels in the shop, and Luri states that she will always treasure this. The next day Matthias and his party leave for the Sahil Empire, and Edward states that the expeditionary force will come after them as soon as they are ready. Matthias's party then leaves on their new adventure, and Matthias thinks that this demon could be a difficult opponent, but they can't run away from it, as it's making people suffer. Thanks for watching the entire anime. Please like and share the video if you enjoyed it, And make sure to hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to keep getting new anime recap updates.